How about, yeah, your brothers in terms of their your closeness with them?
Of course, Irwin was the guy who I always looked up to. Okay, but he was never around that much. He always had his own room. Okay, he was always behind the door studying. Okay, I couldn't make too much noise around him. Um, he was in his kind of own world, but he was someone I always looked up to. Okay, he was my big brother. When Nathan came along, I was his big brother. And I think I took Nathan, yes, I did, to his first baseball game. Um, we did a lot of things together. I had to take him to the museum, had to make sure he got to the aquarium, all those types of things that probably uh, dad and mom would do, we would do together. I did on a close basis as a brother because we were so near all that stuff in Chicago. So I was always the big brother with Nathan to make sure he got to all these places. And even when we moved out to the country, I was his guardian. Okay. Now with Hank, I was never around until he was in high school because Hank is 14 years my junior. Okay. And I remember mother waking me up one day on the farm. She says, Winton, we got to go. We got to go where? I got to go to the hospital to have your little brother. Okay. And I remember I was 15 years old, 14 years old. I was 14 years old. I had never driven the car. I had driven the tractor. I could drive the tractor, but I had never driven the car for 30 miles. And we were 30 miles away from the hospital. And it was at night, you know. So she said, well, you can do it. You have to do it. Daddy's not here. Daddy'll be here tomorrow. But uh, we didn't know that it was going to come tonight. So there I was, I was 14 years old. Drove my mama and little baby to the Allegan, Michigan hospital. And that's where he was born, a little town called Allegan, Michigan. And the hospital was about as big as this house, probably. Yeah, but everybody was nice. I know I sat there in the waiting room sleeping, and early in the morning they came to me, woke me up. You have a little brother? Oh, okay. Great, Yeah, and Dad was there. I think Dad drove the car back. No, he didn't drive the car back. I had to drive the car back. Yeah, he was in his own car. Yeah, right. Yeah, I had to drive the car back, so I followed him back to the house. Yeah, but at least it was easy that because it was in the daytime I could see. At night it was something else. I remember when after I left Bloomingdale, after I graduated from high school and had gone to college, that's when she needed to get out of Bloomingdale. Okay, right after Hank was born. She needed to get out of Bloomingdale because Bloomingdale was in the country, 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 country. And she needed to get to a place that could easily get her to Chicago or to Detroit, okay? Or Kalamazoo first, of course. And that's when they bought the farm, the Hartford farm that you're familiar with, okay? Because all you would have to do is go out in front of the yard and hail the Greyhound bus. It would stop and pick you up and take you either one way east to Detroit or west to Chicago. So that's how that farm was purchased.
So who would you say had a bigger influence on you during that time? Your mom or your dad, or both equally?
Well, I think each had an influence on me. I think mom was more hands-on during the time that I was in high school because I was with her more. Okay, we were on the farm for those 4 years. Dad had more influence on me when we were in Chicago. I feel because he always kept up with me in terms of what I was doing at school or even after school. Okay, and why I say this is that it seemed like my father knew if I did something bad or said something bad at school, he would know about it when I got home, and I would get a reprisal from him. He was the one who would wash my mouth out with lava soap if perhaps he heard that there were some unfavorable words spoken out of turn. He was the one that always had that razor strap ready for, for the backsides. And it was strange that he always used it on me. I don't remember him using it on Irwin at all. Irwin always was putting blame on me, Now, I'm sure when Irwin hears this, he's going to say something different. But anyway, I don't remember Irwin ever getting a razor strap from my dad. I really don't. I don't remember Nathan getting one either. But Mom, back to Mother, she was someone, you have a mother, you have a father. You grew up with both. And you look back and you say, could I have made it without a mom? No. Could I have made it without a dad at that time? No. Even though Dad was, and this is something that I don't know if you guys saw, Dad was a taskmaster, okay? And if you didn't do it right, he'd jump on you. So sometimes when you were doing things or answering questions, you were, am I going to answer it right? Am I going to get this whipping or whatever, He'd let you know he's going to whip you now. This Bible says, spare the rod, you spoil the child. Boy, let me tell you. He gave out spankings very generously. He was very generous with the whippings, man. Yeah. It didn't make me feel that he was just doing it to doing it. I never felt bitter about my dad. I remember one time that I thought I was going to be the man one day. So he was going to drive me to school. School was about 5 blocks away. And he said, get up, I'll drive you to school. You don't have to walk to school today. I'll drive you to school. So I'm leaving in a certain amount of time, so be ready, And I mumbled some things under my breath. So for some reason, I did not want to go to school that day. And I thought I could bully him in allowing me to stay home. I don't know why, And so he came back in the room and he said, Winton, get up, get up. And I could hear it in his voice. He was getting kind of mad. He was dressed. He was ready to go somewhere. Don't know, but he was telling me to get up. So anyway, I'm still lazing around, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get up, I don't want to go to school today. So I had been doing a little training, like boxing, down at the CYO, and I knew how to fend off the left hand, the right hand. And I thought I was bad. I was dancing around before Muhammad Ali was dancing around, you know. And so he came in the third time, and he had raised his voice. He said, "Boy," which when he say "boy," hey, it's time to get your butt in gear, boy. Get up, get up. So anyway, he had this saying. I guess it was a Bayesian saying, "I'll lamb blast your back if you don't," you know. Well, he says, "Boy, I'll lamb blast your back." Well, he raised his hand, and what did I do like a fool? I pushed his hand away, you know. He looked at me with some eyes and come back with a right. Boom! I fell back, and I said, "Okay." And then I went back up, you know, and I did this thing. I thought I would guard it, and another fist, boom, right in my chest, you know. So that's when Mother came into the room and said, "Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Don't." Yeah, my arms are too short to box with God, let me tell you. So my pride was shot. I jumped in my clothes, got my books.
Wait, how old were you at this point?
I was in 8th grade. I was in 8th grade because it was the year I graduated from Shiloh School. I was in 8th grade. Yeah, man, a year before high school. But anyway.
Testosterone was lying to you. It lied to you. It told you you were a man, but you weren't.
With peach fuzz on his chest.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, I'm getting in the car. All said, he said, "No, you're not getting in the car. You walking to school." And so I get out there on the sidewalk. He said, "Get off the sidewalk. Get in the street." So I was walking down the street, and he's driving behind me for 5 blocks. So anyway, it was one year. It was several years after that. I think I was married by then. I said, "Dad, remember that time that you beat me in my chest?" I said, "Man, you hit me so hard." He said, "Yeah, you were growing muscles. I wanted to get you before you got me." He said, "I was going to get you before you got me." He said, "You were not going to hit me." He said, "You had them muscles growing." It was funny. It wasn't funny when he was hitting me in my chest. Thought my chest was going to cave in. I mean, there were some blows now. He didn't tap me. He came with the stuff. Boom! Came with some gusto. There you go.
Now, there's a picture of you with a cast on. Is that?
That was 8th grade.
Oh, that's 8th grade
That's
graduation.
8th grade graduation. Yes, I was riding a bicycle and fell off the bicycle and broke my ankle.
Right?
Yeah.
Right before graduation.
Right before graduation, yeah.
All right.
But I graduated. I walked down the aisle with that crutcher, man.
Yeah.
I was not going to let that deter me. A broken ankle? That was nothing, man. Yeah.
A lot of things happened in 8th grade. You got punched in the chest.
Yeah, man. This is true.
Broke your ankle.
Yes. There you go. There you go. And I played a solo at my 8th grade graduation on my violin. Violin, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you took violin.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Matter of fact, the only reason why I stopped taking violin lessons was the fact when we moved from Chicago to Michigan, there was no teacher. Okay. The only teacher was the clarinet teacher. Okay. And I started clarinet lessons, but no, man. I was into the violin. I would go to the Little Symphony Orchestra. Okay. It was an offshoot. It was a junior orchestra of the Chicago Symphony, where your grandfather played for the Chicago Symphony.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was good at one time?
He was very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. He played in the 3rd section.
Wow.
Okay. the violin for the Chicago Symphony. Yeah. Yeah, he was that good. And he was the one who taught me. I had no other teacher except him. Yeah.
I remember seeing him play the saw at Shiloh when I was very young.
Yeah, yeah. Once you play the violin, you can play the saw. Yeah. That's what your wife was saying. She saw Dad play this saw. Oh, yeah, he could play the saw now. Yeah. I always felt that my dad was my security blanket. I could go to him a lot, and it was either I was going to get reprimanded or I wasn't. He was going to tell me something good that comes out of what I was asking him, or not asking him. I know he would always, not always, chastise me about stuff, but he would give me life lessons on what would happen if perhaps I went down that road, And that has always boded me well throughout my life, remembering what he told me, and even what Mother told me with a little more softness to what Dad would tell me. They were always on the same page, let me tell you. They were always on the same page. Mother wouldn't do the spanking, but I always listened to what she said, and her words, what she said, always resonated with Dad's physical reprimand with the belt. Okay. It was good. I thought that I know some of the kids that were growing up at the time hated their parents, When I get older, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell my daddy this and I'm going to tell my mama that. Well, I never thought about that, about what I was going to tell them. But I really felt that even when I even had to take the keys away from Mother, driving that car all the way from Michigan to Alabama with all that stuff in it, bringing it to her kids, all that canned goods and all this stuff, that she really loved us. And even my father, who went out of his way to purchase farms for us to live on, to get us out of harm's way in Chicago, was just something that a young man told me one day when I was coming from service. I had flown in Chicago from North Carolina for my first furlough. After 6 months in service, I was coming home for my first furlough. And I got on this bus coming out of O'Hare Field, going to the South Side to see Mom. And as I paid my little money, I began to walk to the back of the bus, and the driver hit me, bam, And I looked around. He said, "You forgot who I am, huh?" And I looked at this guy. I said, "Waylon?" He said, "Yeah, it's Waylon." Now, Waylon, his name was Waylon Johnson, was one of the guys that lived on the next block from us. There was Vincennes, and then there was a block called Forestville. Waylon lived on Forestville with his 9 brothers and sisters, okay? And we were always at odds for some reason, or just kids, And Waylon said, "So you went to the Army. You didn't let me know you were going to the Army." I said, "Man, I was in Michigan when he said, "Boy, I wish I had your daddy." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Your dad sent two of his brothers over to Shiloh. He said they got in trouble, and your dad got them and sent them to Shiloh, man. This is the older guy, this fellow I was talking to. And he said he did a lot for that community, you know. I said, yeah, I heard that he did. He said, yeah, man. He said, your dad is quite the guy. He said, all of us guys on Forestville and Vincennes, when we became teenagers and older, we said the one man that we will protect in this community is Mr. Forde. He said, no gangs will be coming up against him. No gangs at all, you know. I said, okay. And I understand when I talked to Dad about that, he said, yeah, he said they were about ready to go to jail. He said, so I just sent them over to our school because they were in bad shape at the school you went to, Willard. He said, Willard has become a school where a lot of drugs are being. I said, Willard? I said, that's a grade school. That's not a high school. He said, well, that's where the kids are learning how to you know, do drugs and things and sell drugs over at the grade school. Well, it got so bad, even before I got married to Joy, they tore the school down. They had to tear it down because it was so bad in that neighborhood. Yeah, the drugs were so bad in that neighborhood. But Waylon was telling me that, yeah, Dad was quite a star in the community. Well, you know, he had how many houses that he owned in that community? Quite a bit. You know, and he was renting them out. And I remember sometimes he would send me to get the rents. After I came home from service, he would send me to get the rents. And he would tell me, now, if you go to this house, watch out. That guy doesn't like to pay, but he owes me for about a month. He says, so be careful. He always has a gun, you know, and he wants to, he says he's going to shoot me, but it's been 10 years he hasn't shot me yet, so he's just a big bluff, you know. I said, well, Dad, if he says that, get him out of there, you know, get him out of there. He said, no, he's all right. But I remember people coming to his funeral who were people who lived in the apartments, and they always said, your dad was such a nice guy. He let me off of paying the rent for such and such a time, but I caught up. He let me catch up.